In Frequently Asked Questions, we're going to speak to the real-life human lie detector. So excited about that. We're going to teach you how to spot if someone else is telling porcupines. That's in Frequently Asked Questions at 10:25. But it's time now for the big question. And my big question guest is an absolute superstar. One of the most versatile comedians of his generation. Bobby Davro made his television debut in 1981. He still looks about 12. This was followed by a performance at Live from Her Majesty's, which really put him on the map. He dominated the 80s and the 90s in particular, with Saturday night ITV hits including Bobby Davro on the Box, Bobby Davro's TV Annual, and yes, Bobby Davro's TV Weekly. He loves to have his name in the title. I think we should call this Mark Dolan's Tonight Live. What do you think? Plus, Bobby made regular appearances on the hit Impressions sketch show Copycats. He's been a game show host, a stand-up comedian, a singer, and even joined the cast of BBC One's EastEnders, playing Vinnie Monks, a love interest for Shirley Carter. He was a judge on Channel 5's All-Star Talent Show and made his mark in the world of reality TV, Dancing on Ice, and a memorable stint on the 16th series of Celebrity Big Brother. Oh, and he's the king of Panto. But before we speak to him, let's watch him in action.
Who wants to bath with a millionaire? Okay, this is the first question. This is a chance to use my loofah. When I wash my face, Gary, do I use A, soap, B, shower gel, C, cleanser, or D, face and body scrub?
I officially declare it Davro Day here on GB News. Bobby Davro joins me now. Bobby, welcome to the show.
And it's very nice to be here, Mark. It's seeing that clip from, I think it was called the All-Star Impressionist show. I was in the bath with Les Dennis. And what you didn't see at the end of that sketch, when he got out after the take, I hit his backside so hard. He hit a big red mark on his bum. It was fun. The water was getting colder and colder. It took about an hour to record that. But Les and I are good friends. So he didn't mind. If it has artistic merit, are you willing to remove your clothes for a role, Bobby? Did you actually? Was it your birthday suit for that one? No, we kept things on underneath the boat, the soap suds, but it was great fun. Les is one of my dearest friends, and we've shared a bed together. There was a wonderful story. I actually sublet a flat in London from a good friend of mine, Lee Mead, who was the search for Joseph Birds and I, and we got rather drunk the night before, Les and I, and we ended up in the same bed. And an estate agent came in with a little Cockney lad. He went in. This is the main bedroom. He was showing this like flat round for Lee. And he came in, and Les and I were in bed about 8:30 in the morning. And this little Cockney lad went, "We are in Bobby Davro and Les Dennis." And we both stood up at the same time, sat at the same time, and said, "It's not what it looks like. It's not what it looks like." But I bet he dines out on that story.
Oh, too right he does. I know I would. Listen, actually, there are some parallels between your career and Les Dennis. Both comedians, yes. Impressionists, acting as well. Both very versatile and long careers. So what do you guys have in common? What is the secret to a long career in showbiz?
I think versatility, patience. Got to be able to take the knocks. As my old dad said, always be prepared to open a few doors. Of course, it didn't help him. He got sucked out of an aeroplane, but that doesn't matter, does it?
I love it.
I was 63 on Monday. 63 now. I used to be the young Bobby Davro. Now
that is mad. And listen, I'm not wanting to blow smoke, but you look incredibly youthful. So what's going on? You've obviously not had your booze and drugs hell like other comics.
Oh, I've had my share of little slip-ups through the years. My dad died this year, and at the beginning, sort of around about the lockdown, he started to get ill, and it got to me a little bit. And, I struggle like everybody else sometimes. But, laughter is the best medicine, they say, don't they? Unless, of course, you've got COVID, then the double jab you've got to have. So.
Yeah, you get the double jab, exactly. I mean, my God, what a crazy year and a half it's been. Have you been impacted professionally? I mean, did you have dates in the diary that were cancelled, Bobby?
Everything, Mark. Everything went. I had to sell the house. I had to take a loan out because there's no way of getting a grant for the kind of work we did. And most comics are the same. And poor me. I never do that. I just, I carry on and I do my best. But it was really tough, what with Dad getting ill as well. Yeah. And I was incredibly close to my dad and we became carers. But if you look at the positive, always look at the glass half full.
Yeah.
You must do that because it gave me time to be able to be with him. If I'd have been working my normal schedule, I wouldn't have been able to be with my dad. And I looked after him and he had to go into a home eventually. And I struggle with a few issues, and I've sorted myself out now. And I miss him dreadfully. In fact, I phoned him up 2 weeks ago. You just forget, don't you?
Oh,
but you carry on, and you live your life as best you can. You only get one life, so try and be positive and always look at the glass half full.
Well, I'm really sorry for the loss of your dear dad, Bobby. May I ask what his name was?
His name was Bill Nankiville. That's my real name. And he was British mile champion. And he ran the 48 and 52 Olympics. He ran with Roger Bannister and Chris Chataway. And I always want to be like my dad and win the gold medal in the Olympics. And he wanted to win it too, but he came sixth.
Not bad.
He was
not
in the
bad.
team.
So actually, you've got pedigree.
I have got a bit of pedigree. But don't ask me. Anything that runs in my house is my nose now. I'm 63. I do keep myself. I used to keep myself fit. I used to do a lot of boxing, I was a bit of a Bank fan because my father was a boxer, my mother was a cocker spaniel. Any excuse to stick in a gag or an impression. And I am reasonably fit, but I do probably drink a little bit too many units a week. But I'm still pretty fit. I'm not that bad. Touch wood.
No, listen, you're in mint condition compared to some other comics, including comics far younger than you, Bobby. I wonder whether your dad's great sporting achievements, whether that sort of taught you about aiming high and thinking big for your life. I mean, did you have dreams as a kid?
Everyone asks what you need to have in life, I think, and the most important thing is you've got to have a goal. You must have a goal to work towards. And I was very fortunate, Mark, to have some great things happen to me early on in my career. When I was about 25, 26, it started to move northward and started to get some good breaks. And it's not only down to talent, it's down to hard work and it's down to luck. An awful lot of it is luck. I'm very lucky. I'm the only entertainer from the 80s that hasn't been arrested. And that's my opening line in my stand-up shows.
I think I heard a knock at the door, Bobby.
I'm the only entertainer from the 80s that hasn't been arrested. And someone always shouts out, yet. But that would never happen to me.
I was just wondering if that was a knock at the door, but I won't make you sweat.
No.
Like Prince Andrew. I mean, Bobby, were you a funny kid?
Yes, I've always had fun. I've always had a lot of fun. I don't take things too seriously. I was a bit rubbish on the old academic side, but I was very fortunate. I was blessed with having a natural ability. It wasn't my three girls now. They're quite old now. I've got 26-year-old, 25-year-old, 21. They think I'm really lazy, but I say, I'm a comic. That's what I do. I sleep a lot of the day and I'd stay awake till sort of 4 a.m. That's the way my life has always been. I find it hard. I have a little bit of insomnia and I lie in bed thinking about ideas. I'm forever working at it. Roy Walker, that wonderful Irish comedian that hosted Catchphrase. You see what you see, Bobby, and you see what you see. And I met him when I was about 20 and he told me do an hour a day and I still do an hour a day.
Wow.
Still work at it an hour a day. Just if I think about it or I write stuff, I had to write a routine of all the countries of the world. That was one of the things that I did sort of pre-lockdown. And I saw Gary Wilmot, who's a friend of mine, and he did a Palladium, he did the pantomime Palladium, and he did the can-can music with all the railway stations, all the underground railway stations of London. And he said to me, I said, it was incredibly brilliant. I said, brilliant. He said, I bet you wish you'd thought of it. I said, I will tomorrow. And he laughed. And I did. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I phoned him up a couple of days later. And I said to him, would you mind if I model myself on that song? Because it wasn't an original idea, but you have to find your own sort of thing to put in it. So I said, instead of railway stations, I'll put in countries of the world. Brilliant. And it took me 5 days to write, which was a lot quicker than I thought. And then it took me nearly 3 months to learn it. And it was an incredible achievement, really. And I did it for the pantomime, which will be coming up. So if you come up and see the crew pantomime this year where I am. And I'll just give you a quick example. It starts very slowly. It goes, Laos, Israel, Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Greece, Maldives, Cyprus, Comoros, Barbados, Belarus, New Zealand, Iceland, Finland, Tanya, Kenya, Ghana, Cuba, China, Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, and Pakistan, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, Bhutan, Japan, and South Sudan, Tajikistan, and it goes all the way through to the end. And if you'll be pleased to know at GB News there, it ends with, it goes Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and England. And I bring out a flag and wave the England flag. But if I go to Scotland, I have to change the order of the countries. So it's Scotland and then Ireland or Wales. So I've got 4 flags. So that's important to keep everyone
absolutely
happy.
I mean, that is spectacular. So how did you get your first big break? I mean, were you in the clubs for a long time before you got spotted?
In the class?
Were you clubs? Did you play the circuit, working men's clubs?
Oh, yes, I did all the when I came out of school, I went and worked at Bentall's down in Kingston, £18.50 a week. And including had to take out my food and my bus fare and all that lot. And it wasn't for me. And then I got a little bit of work on the stag circuit in and around London with a stag comic called Lee Tracy, who put me into the stag circuit with Michael Barrymore at the time, before Michael was a star, and Jim Davison and Mike Reed and Harry Scott and people like that. And we went through, and I learnt my apprenticeship sort of in that 6 months of earning nearly 300 quid a week. I think I went from £18.50 to 300 quid a week. I felt like I was a millionaire, a billionaire.
Amazing. I mean, did you learn on the job? I mean, did you have tricky early gigs, or were you an instant hit?
Tricky? I used to walk out the sound of my own feet. It was dreadful. I used to have to climb out the windows of some clubs, and it was a tough apprenticeship. But I've done my apprenticeship, and however good you get and however successful you are or respected you are as a comic or an entertainer, you still have bad nights. And there's nothing wrong in failure. Failure teaches you how not to do it. Or sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes it isn't. And in this modern culture, which is quite frankly ridiculous, I see it. I've got quite strong views, I imagine, about what's happening with pantomime. I think I read somewhere that you're not allowed to kiss Snow White or Sleeping Beauty, because they haven't got permission. It's gone. It's spoiling the beauty of it. It's got really ridiculous, and I've got quite strong views about what's happening in the culture. That we're sort of being given to respect. I haven't got much respect for it. There's not an ounce of racism or homophobia in me at all. But when they want to look for it, there used to be where we react to prejudice, and now we actively seek it, which is absolutely crazy.
Well, yeah, there are some Disney movies that have got disclaimers. There are episodes of Fawlty Towers that have been withdrawn. Health warnings about only fools and horses. So I guess it's like extreme political correctness. Some people call it wokeism, Bobby. And
wokeism.
I'm hearing that you're not a fan. I mean, have you felt it in your career? Have you been a victim of this sort of political correctness?
I have been. It's vicaciousness, isn't it? It's being offended on behalf of someone else. It makes me. I swear to you, I do not have. I have some wonderful black friends, wonderful gay friends. I'm not homophobic. I'm an arachnophobic. I always do this joke. So I'm an arachnophobic. I'm not homophobic. Having said, if I did come back and catch that's arachnophobia is fear of spiders. But if I came back and found a gay man in my bath, I'd probably scream. But that's not being homophobic. It's about the more we make an issue,
it's a joke.
It pushes away. It is a joke. You've got to laugh. And if you look at the great Ricky Gervais, he said, "I'd like £1 for everybody that I've offended with my comedy." And then he stops and says, "Actually, I have got £1 for everybody I've offended." Because it's not you. A comedian doesn't go out to give you offence. You take offence, and you can be offended by anything, and you're entitled to be offended. But it shouldn't mean to say that we have to respect everybody's views. And the Black Lives Matter, I'm a supporter of course, but to a point. But the more we sort of are scared of what we say, it's like if I do a routine where I get a woman, 3 women out of the audience and to do an Elvis song, and I do the same jokes if I got a black lady out. Or a lady of colour, I meant to say. This is where it gets so confusing. They might say, "Oh, you're being racist. You're being racist. You've picked on the black woman." But if a black woman or a lady of colour is in the audience and you ignore them, then I'm segregating them as well. I'm being offensive to them by not including them. So where does that leave us as comedians? And we should all be laughing with each other, not at each other, with each other. And that's where
absolutely right.
The the more they highlight that, the more it pushes the two parties away. It causes division. It doesn't bring us together, and they must learn from that. Otherwise, it's going to ruin this culture.
Well, too right if that hasn't already happened, and lots of emails coming in. So many fans, Bobby, let me tell you.
That's
Adrian,
good. I'm sure I've got some negatives there, but...
Oh, no. Listen, you will never be cancelled here on GB News, and it's great to hear what a performer of your pedigree and your experience has to say, Bobby. And I will plug Sleeping Beauty at the Crew Lyceum, and also you're doing another really fun thing at the Eastwood Hall. So I'm going to mention those at the end of our chat in a couple of minutes. But Bobby, a question from Adrian. Who is your favourite personality to impersonate, and could you do them?
Well, I can, I suppose. I was a great fan of Robin Williams, and as you can see, when I do Robin, my face sort of becomes like Robin. What I look like, I haven't got my glasses and my wig, but I look like Harry, what's his name, Ozzy Osbourne. And then I was going to do Alan Carr. You see, I can do Alan Carr with my reading glasses on. And the one I'm doing at the moment, which is amazing, is Professor Brian Cox. And then, of course, you've got Michael McIntyre, who like Michael, he does that. And I can do Julian Clary as well, slipping into him, which wouldn't be the first time. I thank you. And so I keep up with all these impressions, and modern ones. I don't do much politics. I obviously did the Donald. Everybody has to do the Donald. The Donald J. Trump. What does J stand for? Genius. And I obviously keep up with some of the modern ones. I think the trouble with my era is that they probably still think I'm doing Frank Spencer and normal wisdom impressions.
Well, it's really wrong. You've endlessly reinvented yourself, and you have been so adaptable.
Right.
You're the Madonna of the comedy circuit.
The Maradona.
You are maybe a little bit of both. That's a fair point. I'll never get through all of these questions, but so many people are basically very, very excited to have you on the show. Alice says, I saw Bobby as Buttons at the Cliffs Pavilion with Bob Carroll-G's and Spit the dog, who I think wouldn't get very far in the pandemic, would he? It was utterly hilarious.
No, that wouldn't work.
No. Alice says it was utterly hilarious with lots of off-colour jokes which went over the heads of the kids. He was even funnier live than any time I've seen him on telly. Loads of ad-libs. And so sorry to hear about his dad and his tough year. Great talent. And Alice says, what was your favourite live gig, Bobby? Can you remember your favourite show?
There's been so many. I guess that Live at Her Majesty's, which sort of turned the corner for me way back. But I'm doing Butlins. I do the 80s weekends. Starting this Sunday, I'm down in Minehead. Doing the Butlins 80s weekends. I love those because I can get to use all my videos and my AV stuff, and the audiences are great. They're up for a laugh, and I can get out there and I do a load of singing. I do all the old 80s music stars, people like Manilow and Elton. I do a nice Elton and Stevie Wonder and a bit of Sweet Caroline, which they seem to love now, which is great.
Well, this is another great passion of yours, which is music and singing. And, you're a great singer in your own right, but you do them as these famous people, and you do sing as yourself as well.
Yeah, I sort of try and do a little bit of everything. I'm an all-round entertainer. Well, in fact, I'm just all-round. With the COVID tummy I've adopted, I've put on a few pounds.
Oh, but, listen, by the way, I mean, look, you have been so hilarious in your career, and even on this appearance tonight. What do you think of contemporary comedians? And you can be honest with me.
I think so many are brilliant, and I really do. I love McIntyre. I love Lee Evans, who I met through his father when we were doing Copycats. You mentioned Copycats at the top of the
Who was his
interview
dad?
Here. His dad was Dave Evans, who taught Lee something which a lot of the youngsters haven't got, and that's called stagecraft. They're great comics. I work with a lot of the new ones. I love Lee Mack, people like Tim Vine. We're doing a few impressions. Who's the guy who came and did a show for me? Was Milton Jones. He came and did it at my charity show.
Brilliant one-line comedian, right?
Yes, I tried to do them. We had a family outing the other day. It turns out my granddad's gay. And those kind of gags he does. They're great gags, and they're one-line gags. And he's a wonderful comedian. And there's so many of them, but there's a few that I don't get. I mean, Eddie Izzard, I don't quite get his material, but he is a fantastic comedian. But even for my era, people like Ken Dodd, who was, "Hey, Jones," he was fantastic. and I didn't quite get him. He didn't quite make me laugh. But one of my best friends, and I might get a few negatives on this, I think the funniest man I ever saw from this country was Freddie Starr, without doubt. Freddie was one of my heroes. You know, he wasn't a great talker. He was a visual comic. He had wonderful visual comedy within his body, had wonderful body language, and dangerous. He was dangerous. Michael Barrymore was a dangerous sort of comic. And Jim Davidson, who I'm very dear friends with, like him or loathe him, he taken away from the material. It boils down to, are they good comedians, or are they? Jim's probably one of the best comedians I've ever seen. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, because he's painted out to be racist and sexist. And that's not really fair. If you don't like something, you can stand up and walk out. Not everybody has the same kind of sense of humour, and thank goodness they don't, because that's what makes it so varied. And I think Chubby Brown, I read somewhere, who is again a wonderful comedian, just because you might not like his material.
Cancelled by Sheffield City Hall for his
because
show.
Because one or two people who don't like his material.
Well, I
I
mentioned the hypocrisy about that, because I don't think you should cancel any comedian that's not breaking the law, Bobby. And I mentioned two other very good comics, Jimmy Carr and Frankie Boyle, who are great comedians. I think you'll agree.
Wonderful comedians.
But they're pretty edgy too. So it seems unfair to cancel Roy Chubby Brown, but let other very edgy, arguably offensive comedians carry on.
Yes, that's so very true. It's because of the era. And if you don't like them, you don't buy tickets to go and see them. You know what you're going to go and see when you see Chubby Brown. You know what you're going to see when you see Jimmy and Frankie. Yeah. And regardless, Frankie Boyle is one of the greatest writers of comedy I've seen. Maybe not all the jokes. I even go, oh my God, I can't believe he did this. I did it with Jimmy, you know. I did a pantomime where I had the audience in sort of laughing and rocking in the seats. And I came back one night and I watched Jimmy's concert that they televised. It was I can't believe this man's getting away with it. And I made the mistake of putting it on Twitter, and then they all had to go at me saying, oh, you're washed up and you're not funny. It doesn't matter. It's what you find funny. And I think Jimmy's a wonderful comedian.
Well,
some of the material, oh my God.
Oh my God, I mean, some of the material you wouldn't do yourself, but obviously that's his craft.
No.
I believe in comedy that it should be free speech, and that you should
freedom
have
of speech.
Frankie Boyle, Bobby Davro, Frankie Boyle, Roy Chubby Brown, Jimmy Carr, all of them. And that's the point about comedy, isn't it? It's a broad church.
Yes.
Listen, we obviously, the clock's against us now. Very briefly.
I would have loved to chat it more.
Well, listen, two things. First of all, how long does it take you to get a voice? So if you're impersonating someone, what's the process?
Well, some come really quickly, and some take a lot of work. I don't tend to work as hard as I used to as an impressionist. For instance, I've been doing a Jules Holland thing, and I used to Jules Holland back in 1987, and on when he was doing The Word, and I wanted to put him back in, and I had to look him up. I had to work on him again, and I'm still in the process of trying to get a better voice. There's several different sort of qualities of his, and so you've got this high pitch, and so over here on this side of the studio. And it's not quite right. And I struggle with them, and yet some I can get straight away. But I keep working at it.
Well, listen, Bobby, the other thing I want to do is, I know that your diary is filling up, and I've got all of these gigs to plug, which I'm going to do in 2 seconds' time.
Please do.
Would you consider joining us in the studio on our panel one night here on Tonight Live? Because we would love to have you.
I certainly would. I'm a big fan of, as you said, free speech. Brilliant. And I don't get upset. The only critic that I listen to now, Mark, is myself. I know some people are going to like what I do. Some people won't. I can take the criticism. It doesn't make you right. Being offended does not make you right. You can turn it off, or you can walk out of a gig. It doesn't bother me at all. I'll always do what I want to do. And if they like it, they like it. And if they don't, it doesn't upset me anymore. And I despair that other people expect us to be offended along with their views just because they've got the power of the pen or the power of the voice.
Absolutely. Well, there will be no offence taken on this show. Not on my watch, Bobby. Consider yourself officially booked. My team now are going to flash. Jake is going to give us a shot of your brilliant pantomime, and it's called Sleeping Beauty at Crewe Lyceum Theatre, 10th of December to the 2nd of January. It will sell out. So get your tickets right now, Sleeping Beauty at the Crewe Lyceum for this Christmas. And also, Bobby is hosting a comedy evening at Eastwood Hall on the 28th of October.
Yeah, that's going to be a cracking gig. Yeah,
Where is that? Where is that? Is that where is
it's
Eastwood
Nottingham,
Hall?
isn't it?
Is it in Nottingham?
I think it's Nottingham way.
Look, you're so well travelled. It's like, which town are you in tonight? I tell you, you are a
Goodness
globetrotter.
knows, I might be losing my license again for speeding. I've got a horrible feeling I'm going to be going everywhere on the train. So look at me on the networks, going up and down on the train, because I have a horrible feeling I'm going to.
Oh no! I hope it doesn't happen. Listen, I'll give you a gig to the lift in the Prius, Bobby. It'll be my privilege. I'll be your driver. I'll sit in the front and you can make me laugh all the way to Nottingham. Listen, brilliant to have you on the show. Come and see us in the studio really soon. The team will be in touch. The brilliant Bobby Davro, who's in Panto this Christmas at the Crew Lyceum. So there we are.